Wow, a lot of things going on in the stock market. AMD stock market reports is going on, and right now the market is taking a dip on AMD because even though they came out in profits, AMD reports weaker than expected earnings, even as revenue tops estimates. So AMD reported quarterly earnings on Tuesday afternoon and missed expectation. And with them missing expectations, overnight trading, pre-market trading is kind of ipping up right now. So the company trails Nvidia in the market for graphics process units or GPUs. So they kind of like Nvidia stock. You know, Nvidia is more. They have security, cybersecurity, defenses, the graphic processing, all that good stuff. But AMD, and it's crazy because when Nvidia was popping and like right before they did the split and everything, AMD would have been the one that you would grab up if you can't afford the cost of the Nvidia, right? So you grab up the AMD, but now AMD is up there almost at the same price point as Nvidia. So the company trails Nvidia in the markets for graphic processing units or GPUs. Big customers such as Meta and OpenAI are increasingly looking to AMD to provide an alternative to NVIDIA's chips. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's like kind of a competitor, especially for interference on when AI models are deployed to the public. And this right here is coming from reports from CNBC. We're going to talk about how Lisa Su, CEO at Advanced Micro Device, and Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, they testified during the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transformation Committee hearing not too long ago, back in May, to get more idea of what's going on in terms of these chips and the chip makers and AI technology. So Advanced Micro Devices, that's going to be ticket symbol AMD, and this is coming from, like I said, CNBC report. Kif Liswing, shout out to Kif Liswing. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right. So let's get into this report. Quarterly earnings on Tuesday that missed estimates. The stocks slid about 5% in extended trading. And I'm looking at like, wait, but AMD had a decent, they had a decent earning report, but since they didn't reach their projected earnings, then the stock ended up slipping about 6% at the extended trader overnight. So here's how the chip maker did versus LSEG expectations for the quarter and ending in June. So earnings per share was 48 cents adjusted versus 49 cents expected. Just off 1 cent. Just off 1 cent, and it's gonna slip what, 5%? This is crazy, man. That's why we gotta get more involved with the financial, getting more involved with financial literacy, because you never know. This right here could be affecting your 401k, it could be affecting your retirement, whichever have it, it could be affecting how you trade. And so also the revenue, $7.69 billion versus $7.42 billion expected. So they was over the revenue, just over the revenue, but the shares weren't there exactly. Man, it's so interesting when you look at these stocks and how they're traded, because Nvidia, even though they had good earnings and their revenues was up and everything, and their earnings was more than expected, their stocks went up like crazy, but then also took a dip at the end of the trading day. So we just got to watch these stocks, got to watch the charts, got to watch the news in order to identify how you're going to be trading. If you're trading, if you're doing swing trading, long-term trading, if you're just holding these stocks in it for long-term investment, or if you're just doing day trading, option trading, it's good to know the news. That's what's going on. For current quarter, AMD expected sales 8.7 billion plus or minus 300 million versus expectations of earnings of 8.3 billion dollars. So AMD reported net income during the fiscal second quarter of 872 million. That's $872 million in 3 months, y'all. That's kind of bananas. Or 54 cents per share, increasing from 265 million or 16 cents per share in year to year. So basically they up 54 cents for the quarter, I believe, and 16 cents per share in year to year period. Nvidia overall sales rose 32% in the period from $5.84 billion a year earlier. Yo, these stocks, these Nvidia, AMD, Meta, Palantir, basically a lot of these stocks that's involved in technology, but not the usual technology that we're used to. I mean, these are like semiconductor chips, microchips, defense mechanism programming, um, stuff for cyberspace, stuff for defense, especially like U.S. defense is putting a lot of money in some of these projects that's projected to create better defense for the U.S. and all type of things in that process of like GPU, graphic processing units, all of that. So AMD, remember, AMD is the second biggest maker of graphic process unit. That's GPU for artificial intelligence behind NVIDIA. So whatever's going on with NVIDIA, with AMD, it's going to be going on the same thing with Meta. Also like the same thing in OpenAI. So you got OpenAI, Meta, AMD, all talking and all working on stuff in order to AI. The other day I read a report about how these warehouses taking like a lot of electricity, and they saying, is that a reason why some of our electric bill is going up? And that's the reason why maybe some of us are seeing the electric bill goes up, because of these big warehouses that's taking up some of these electric. So let's get back into it. So the second biggest, which is the vast majority of the market, but big AI customers such as Meta and OpenAI are increasingly looking at AMD to provide an alternative to NVIDIA prices, because NVIDIA has some pricey chips. That's why the valuation was up so much, because their chips was like, especially during the pandemic and when chips was hard to come by, those chips was going up like crazy. So AMD and a few other companies, but was able to come back and, help people out, help cut the costs or whatever. So especially for interference or when AI models are deployed to the public. So during the quarter, AMD announces new AI chips called the Instinct MI400 that's expected to hit the market next year. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman committed to using AMD's newest CPUs. So they got new chips on the market. They have people already dedicated in contracts to use it. And of course, OpenAI is going to be using it because that's coming from the CEO, Sam Altman. It's not any like hearsay, not anything that's word of mouth or anything like that. It's straight up from the CEO. So AMD is also grappling with chip export controls that have been placed on some of the AI chips because of U.S. government worries about the powerful GPUs could be used by adversaries to surpass Americans' capability to be used for military purposes. So the U.S. is trying to also slow down and place some kind of restraint on it. It was kind of some worries because of how these chips, if these chips get to other countries, they probably probably be used to military purpose, and they might be able to be compatible and surpass Americans' GPUs. There's so much information that we have to look into when you're going to invest or trade and things like that. So AI business revenue declined year over year as U.S. export restrictions expectedly eliminated M1308 sales to China, and we begin transitioning to our next generation, AMD CEO Lisa Lu said on a call with analysts. MI308 was previously barred for export to China in April, which the company said it cost them $800 million in the June quarter. 800. Can you imagine just losing $800, nevertheless $800 million in June quarter? However, the company said in July that it expected the shipment to be expect the shipment to resume after Trump administration signaled that it would approve waivers. AMD said Outlook doesn't include any revenue from its China-focused AI chip called M1308, and its license application are currently being viewed by the Department of Commerce. Su said she expected AI revenue to grow year over year in the quarter. Wow. So there's a lot of big things going on with AMD. A lot of big things going on with AI technology, NVIDIA, and even just getting involved with these stocks right here, these AI type stocks, these defensive type stocks, and looking at some other things. AMD main business aside from GPUs is making central processing called CPUs, which is compete with Intel to power more traditional servers. So they're that's a good company. That's a company, not not financial advice, not your fiduciary, not your trustee, none of that. But that's some good thing to look into because other than that, they are also into the gaming thing. So they're into gaming, they're into AI, and they're also into the CPU processing. So they also offer, wow. Okay, so gaming revenue was up 73% over the year, $1.1 billion versus Street Accounts estimate $784 billion. AMD is also called client and gaming, which includes the company's CPU. Oh, the other major segment of AMD is also called client and gaming, which includes the company's CPUs for laptop and desktops. The CPUs from 3D gaming, which all these gaming systems is using right now, right? That's the problem, because a lot of things with these gaming is that they need this processing system in addition to the graphics and all this, the chip that's needed. So these things are gonna cost. So that was up 69% on an annual basis of 3.6 billion. Client revenue rose 57% to 2.5 billion. Wow. In line with the street account expected $2.56 billion, partially driven by strong demand for company latest desktop CPUs, which is called AMD Ryzen Zen 5. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is AMD. Hope you got some value out of that report from CNBC. Had to look at it and make some commentary. AMD report weaker than expected earnings, but guess what? They're still going to be doing big things because they have a lot of things going on. They have a lot of contracts, and it's unfortunate it's down by 5.43%, down by about $9 at the time of this recording. So check out AMD, check out NVIDIA, and a lot of other things, and I'll talk to you later. Peace out. Be safe.